Yeah, I kind of like the SEC having divisions though, and they're bringing in Texas.
Right, because it's the only
Oklahoma.
chance that Florida has to make an SEC championship.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I really appreciate like not having to play at Alabama every year. But,
I don't know what I'm doing. This is not the intro. Wait, I mean, Carrie, you're a Patriots fan. You're kind of like you're kind of not a sadist. You're a masochist. So wow. You could watch the Patriots play football and then punish yourself even more by drinking Heineken.
Yeah, I was just complaining to the play call with my dad. You know, like I don't know what's up with McDaniel, man. Like I don't know if he's getting too cute. I don't know what he's doing, but
he stopped drooling. He needs more nicotine.
Yeah,
he needs something.
Listen, it was a good week for Zach Stradamus.
It was
a good week.
I'm taking the Bucks.
I'm taking the Bucks as well.
If Trevor was actually a Bucks fan, he would say Bucks by 50.
I'm not a fan.
Maybe he is a Bucks fan, and that's why he didn't say that. Because every time he says by 50, any team by 50, they lose. It's practically become my motto this year. I don't believe in love.
I mean, if you're an Eagles fan, you probably should hate yourself because.
Praise be to our Lord and Savior, George Washington, this 4th of July Eve. Welcome back to the Barely Football Podcast. About football, but beerly. And that's really what America's about. I'm your host, Zachary Smith. Join me as always are my two very good friends, Trevor Scott, Kerry Dempsey. How we doing tonight, boys?
So good, dude. I'm feeling patriotic. I got the red, white, and gold on. Close enough to red, white, and blue. But, yeah, looking forward to tomorrow. Got the day off work, just like I do pretty much every other day. But traffic will be a little bit worse tomorrow. So, still excited for the holiday. I love wiener. I love hot dogs. I love beer. It's good, man.
Isn't Joey Chestnut, like, not going tomorrow or something?
Yeah, it's wild.
That's crazy, man.
It's not 4th of July without Joey Chestnut, man.
That's crazy.
Zach, I realized watching those highlight videos, your hair changes a ton. You have so many different hairstyles. Like, I've never thought of that before.
I'm all over the place, brother. I never stay in one place too long. People start to learn my name.
It's honestly
right. And also, Zach pretty normally has a lot of people looking for him.
Yeah.
So, it's true.
They're looking for a bald guy, and then they're looking for a guy with long hair and a mustache. They never really find him. Even if they find him, they're really not finding him.
Guess that's true.
I'm changing the colors on my. There we go. I like the purple.
Cool.
How you doing, Zach? What are you boys drinking tonight?
Well, okay. So I warned you guys. Oh, my thing turned off. Let me try this again.
That happens when you
That's
get older.
bright white.
The light.
That was red. I warned you before this episode started. This is good mood lighting, actually. I end the slander in the next couple weeks. It has been said on this show many times that I threw up off of Seagrams. I got so drunk, I vomited off of Seagrams.
True story.
It's slander. Absolute slander. So tonight we start ending blasphemy.
It's a true statement.
We're doing Smirnoff Ices. I got a whole case. They're going to be done by the end of the pod.
Oh, shit.
You're more mature than you used to be. That old Zach couldn't handle it. Now Zach can,
Zach, we were actually just talking about.
That's really good, by the way.
Me and Carrie were just talking about the bachelor party the other day. Talked about the possibility of setting up a little alcohol/beer Olympics. We got a pool in the backyard. We might as well.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. We should definitely do that.
We all have our strengths, all have our weaknesses. I made a joke to Carrie just a couple days ago. I was like, what should we make Zach do? Like have a Seagram's chugging contest?
I will.
So
the slander ends. Well. The slander will end.
Honestly, you know what? Listeners out there, let us know. Alcohol Olympics, of us three, who would you take? Me, Trevor, Zach. Let us know.
Got a couple more in
social medias. I don't know.
I actually made some odds, some betting odds the other day.
Definitely not Trevor. Trevor would absolutely lose.
You're crazy.
No, Trevor would
Crazy.
absolutely lose.
I had myself as the favorite. I had you as second.
Me and Zach are close. I don't know what, Trevor. I don't know.
Zane is a wild card, to be honest.
Jared
We
will
all
not. You know
Depends
that.
on what Zane shows up.
All right. I had a sip of my beer tonight, and I was very confused with the taste. I was not expecting this at all. But first of all, I want to plug, if you ever need local beers, singles, go to your local Trader Joe's because they have really cheap beers that are local, and they're like $2-3 for single. So I got some solid beers. I got a Joseph Brau Heifweinzer Bavarian style. I don't know why I'm drinking a German beer on 4th of July, but
Traitor.
it is such a different taste. I've been drinking a lot of IPAs and stuff lately. I'm not used to this taste. It takes
Yeah, it's weird when you drink a lot of like really flavorful beer and then you go back to like rice water. It's different.
That's Bavarian. It's pretty good. It's different though.
I was going to call you out because you said your local Trader Joe's, and I didn't think Trader Joe's was like a big nationwide thing, but there's actually 547 Trader Joe's in the United States.
There's a lot of them.
There's not very many.
43 states.
There's not like national supermarkets really, but Trader Joe's and like Whole Foods are like the only ones. But also got my giant glass of iced tea. I'm running a marathon 5K in like less than 10 hours.
Oh, right. Yeah, Kerry's got to take it light tonight because just like his white ancestors before him, he's doing an 5K on the 4th of July. He's got a 10K coming on Thanksgiving, and he's not going to stop.
I didn't know Kerry ran. I didn't know he could run.
I run a lot, Zach. I used to run
running up and down the court.
You ran like once a year at FGCU.
No, it's Trevor I ran with.
No, you
definitely
don't remember
not.
that one night, Zach. That one night, Kerry
Oh,
ran
if
like
you're
6 miles.
I used to run like 5 miles like a couple nights a week.
I used to run when I was at COL with Trevor.
I used to
A
be
heartbroken man will run to the ends of the earth.
I don't want to talk about it. It was a time. I lost 30 pounds in 3 months.
I actually do remember that. Zach was on some something.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Trevor, what are you drinking?
I really fumbled because it's the night before the 4th of July, America's independence. Truly don't know the meaning behind it, so I figured I couldn't celebrate it that well. Hopefully it had nothing to do with Japan because I'm drinking some Japanese wine. Some Tokaji. I don't know how to say any of the words on here. I've drank about half a bottle. It's pretty sour. It's pretty light, but it's 8.5%. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 11.5%. So, I got the goblet back out. Haven't drank out of this thing in months, maybe even a year. It's all blending together about now. I have no concept of time anymore. But really excited to finish this bottle and see where it takes me tonight. We're talking.
So
Titans,
life's going pretty
Jags,
good for you
Texans,
then, huh?
and Colts.
It must be, honestly.
Alrighty, so we're bringing on our first guest of the night, Jake Robertson, and we're gonna talk some AFC South football.
Wow.
How you
Let's
doing,
do
Jake?
it. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Um,
My
Yeah,
audio's
glad you
coming
could
in
make it.
okay. I'm filming
Before we
from
get
the front
started.
seat of my cab.
like
So
it.
yeah, we'll see how it all goes.
Before you start, you want to tell where people can find you, plug your socials?
Yeah, Glory Days Sports at all socials. You can find me on Twitter. We've got the Morning Glory Show on YouTube as well. We're live every Thursday morning, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, just covering all things Titans.
I like it. And
Is there some kind of reason, something that goes with the Titans and glory? Is there is there a glory day? Something kind of what's the
Is there something we should remember about the Titans?
wow.
There is something you should remember about the Titans. It's a great movie. But no, as far as glories go, I think everybody has their glory days, and I don't see any reason why it can't be tomorrow. Why has it got to be in the past? So we're always promoting health and fitness and all that good stuff with the Titans as well. So it's just kind of how it is.
I
Awesome.
like it. All right, these two are haters, but I've been a Will Levis supporter for a while, and I feel like this year is all about Will Levis. You think he's ready for what it takes this season?
So as far as the Titans go, just for their offense and the defense, everything, this is maybe the newest Titans team that we've ever seen. Going back from 99 when they've been in the Super Bowl. Basically, we got rid of Mike Vrabel and that old crew. We bring in Brian Callahan and Denard Wilson. And we're just building around him, bringing in guys like Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd. Obviously, Derrick Henry's no longer in Nashville. We bring in Tajay Spears. We drafted him 3rd round last season. We're bringing Tony Pollard from Dallas. You just look at this team in total. There's like, I don't even know. There could be up to 14 to 16 new starters on this team going this season. So as far as Will Levis's concerns go, I think there's going to be a lot of newness around him. So it might take some time for him to gel with these pieces and these new coaching staff and what he's doing. We're moving from this Earnhardt Perkins system, which he's been in basically since he was at Penn State before he transferred to Kentucky. So it's a lot of newness, but he has the intangibles. Nashville's really taken him on as a leader, and everything that we've seen through OTAs thus far tends to me to believe that he does have what it takes to be a upper echelon quarterback in the NFL.
And they definitely went all
got the
in.
wide receiver for it.
Yeah, they really went in this offseason with, adding Boyd, adding Ridley, getting Pollard. He's a lot better
It's
weapons.
nice to have $100 million in cap space going into free agency. I'll say that.
I mean,
speaking of cap, this story I kind of came across today. It was kind of a rumor that spanned off another rumor. The original rumor being that CeeDee Lamb might not get a deal done in Dallas, might eventually request a trade, and then the rumor that spanned off of that is, Tennessee. They got maybe some money to spend, some more, maybe might pay him a longer term, a 4-year contract. Have you heard anything about that? Has the fan base put any steam behind CeeDee Lamb to Tennessee?
So the steam behind that is literally somebody that's on Twitter making fun of another post that I believe it may have been a Colts fan that put it out there, and it just the media is taking off and run with it. It's just making fun of another post. There's no way CeeDee Lamb is coming, and I'm an Oklahoma Sooners fan as well as the Titans. I would love it if CeeDee came to Tennessee. That is not going to be the case, though. They've invested too much in this wide receiver core already. They're going to be looking elsewhere. There's probably going to bring in a couple more acquisitions before the start of the season, probably before even training camp. They definitely are looking at the safety market. If I had to say there's going to be one more splash before training camp, I would say Justin Simmons is going to be the next player going to the Tennessee Titans.
It sure has been a huge question mark about Justin Simmons. It seems like he's got so many good fits, but just no news, no nothing coming around him. But sticking on to the receiver topic, bringing in Calvin Ridley, bringing in Tyler Boyd, what do you think that does for the progression for Treylon Burks? And do you think he's somebody that stays in Tennessee for a few years? He's got the huge sides, maybe a trade target, something like that. What is his situation looking like?
So Treylon is a very interesting – he's been an interesting prospect ever since he was coming out of Arkansas. And we put a lot of pressure on him as soon as he was drafted because that draft pick is what we sent away to A.J. Brown for. So – and that was his draft comp coming out. So everybody was going, okay, this is going to be the immediate replacement for A.J. Brown. And that's just not the case. There's not many A.J. Browns out there. And Treylon, he's dealt with injuries and all these other things. He dealt with asthma as soon as he got there as a rookie. He's put on the work this offseason, and Callahan and co. has really talked him up. And, Calvin Ridley, as soon as he got there, was been talking him up as he's T.O. out there. He's gotten all these comps.
Oh, shit.
He's got to put it together on the field, though. At best, he's wide receiver 4 on this roster right now. If anything, he's a great field stretcher. He's been the fastest clock Titan out there since OTAs have started, and he's putting in the work. So we like to see that, but it's got to translate to the field. I'm not positive it's going to happen, but if anything, he's a great depth piece on this team. They're going to rotate receivers out there, and that gives us a good 4 or 5 deep. So he's going to make this roster. He's going to compete. He's going to have 400 to 500 yards probably if he can stay healthy. And he just adds a extra element to this offense with these older wide receivers that are on the staff already. they don't offer a lot of speed or upside to this team. So he gives them a little bit more upside going into the season.
And do you think they'll carry
depth piece like that?
Do you think they'll carry 6 wide receivers this year, or will one of like either Westbrook, McKinney, or Phillips get cut?
So Brian Callahan and Zach Taylor over where he came from in Cincinnati, they had a tendency to carry up to 7 wide receivers at times. So I think 6 is a bare minimum. And if I had to guess that 6, it is going to be the big 3 and Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins. Traylon Burks will probably take that 4th nod. Nick Westbrook-Akine, NWI. And then that 6th spot, that's the one that's really up for grabs. And we drafted Jaquan Jackson out of Tulane this past season. So he's going to come in as that return specialist regardless. So I think the 6th spot's probably going to go to him. I think Kyle Phillips is kind of that potential cut candidate as of right now. And Kyle Phillips, when he's been on the field, has been very good, but he's very slight of frame, and he just doesn't – he's not built like an NFL wide receiver. And he's a slot-only player that struggles on special teams. So it's hard to find a place for him on this roster. But if we're talking just pure slot, when he's on the field, he's great. I just don't – I see him fighting to make this roster at this point in time. Could surprise us, but we'll see.
And I think the other big question for the Titans this year is – what it has been for the last few years is this offensive line. They got Skoronski the draft before last year and Latham this year and signed Cushenberry. Do you think that's going to be enough to turn this offensive line around? I know they got new offensive line coach as well, but can this finally
start? So we brought in we brought in big coach, which is we've got the 2 Callahans on staff now. So big coach is Bill Callahan, Brian Callahan. His son is our head coach. He's Coach Callie as of right now through the media. So Bill Callahan is regarded as the best offensive line coach in the entire NFL, and that's not my words. That's national media's words. So that is a great upgrade from Jason Hutelling, who was our offensive line coach last season, who I believe we hired out of a high school program, and I believe he's back at a high school program. So that just kind of tells you where we've upgraded just as far as regard of that. And, of course, we brought in J.C. Latham. We flip him from the right side to the left side. He was a former left tackle at IMG in high school, and Alabama moved him to the right side. But he was cross-training that entire time he was at Alabama. The only reason he didn't play left tackle this past season is they brought in the number 1 left tackle draft prospect over at Alabama as a rookie this season and say, hey, let's keep the continuity of this offense. Let's leave him at left tackle. Let's leave Latham at right tackle. So I think he has the ability to flip sides, and I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. And if we look at that left tackle position this last 2 seasons, I believe it's led the entire NFL both seasons in sacks given up from Andre Dillard and Jalen Duncan, and insert random name here that probably shouldn't start in the NFL. The left side does not concern me at all. We've got 2 first-round we've got a tackle, and Peter Skoronski, he could play tackle if he needed to. Arms aren't the longest, but he is a great and almost pushing all-pro left guard, I think, this season. And we bring in Lloyd Cushenberry, which was the best center prospect in this free agency cycle. So very happy with that side. The right side is what really concerns all Titans fans as of right now. We've got a smorgasbord of people that could be at that right guard position. Dylan Radin's former second-round draft pick, really coming out of North Dakota State, had to put it all together and struggle with injuries. And with the Mike Vrabel era, they played him at every position. He's played left tackle to right tackle and every position in between. So he's getting some continuity at the guard position. So he's kind of working his way into that. And then we got Daniel Brunskill that we brought in last season from the 49ers, who was maybe the most reliable offensive line player we had last season, but he's still lacking talent. So we're looking at Shadiq Charles as of right now is probably the starter going into training camp. Coming from the Panthers, he had time at, I believe, the Redskins with Bill Callahan, and we're liking what we see there, but we haven't put on pads yet, so we'll see how that goes. And then right tackle, we'll see what happens there. NPF has struggled with injuries. Jalen Duncan has struggled with injuries, so we haven't got to see a lot of time out of there. If there's a dark horse at that spot, it's John Ojukwu out of Boise State, who was a rookie last season, undrafted free agent. he has gotten a lot of work with the first team, and I'm very excited to see what kind of transpires there. I think regardless, this team has moved from the 32nd ranked line in the NFL to at least a middle of the pack and potentially moving into that top 12-ish early in the season. So I'm very excited what this offensive line is going to bring going into 2024.
Can't be worse than last year.
It cannot. It cannot. So we're very excited in Tennessee.
All right. Trevor, do anything? Trevor? Frozen.
Hello?
Is that, dude? I thought that was me. It usually is me.
All right. We'll go on to our last segment. It's called Rapid Fire. I'm going to ask you about 10 questions, and I don't want you to think. Just answer as fast as you can about it. And you ready?
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Right. If you could be friends with any player on the Titans, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's two answers to that. And it's either Arden Key, who is our starting edge as of right now, or Tajay Spears. And it's two different answers for each of them. Tajay Spears is this team's biggest cheerleader. He is that Miami comeback we saw last season, which has never been done in the history of the NFL. He was talking up Will Levis the entire time. After in the post-game interviews, he's cheering for him in the post-game interviews. And then Arden Key has been talked about as the comedian of the locker room by literally everybody on this team. So both of those dudes are just great dudes, I think, would be to just hang out with, have a beer with.
Yeah. All right. Best move of the offseason.
That one's a tough one. I think it's got to be L'Jarius Sneed, though. It's hard to compete with bringing in the best cornerback in the NFL. I mean, and it's a third-round draft pick this season. I'm fine with that. So, yeah, L'Jarius Sneed, having him come into this team that has struggled on the back end for so long now. We've never had a premier corner that I can really think of since maybe Cortland Finnegan, and still he was maybe borderline top 5. L'Jarius Sneed, what he did last season, he shut down the who's who. Yeah, so yeah, he got beat up by Andre Johnson, another former Titans player, Andre Johnson. But yeah, L'Jarius Sneed is a pretty easy answer for me.
All right, how about worst move of the offseason?
I mean, maybe not worse for the team, but worse for my heart. It hurts to see another player go to the Purple People Eater or go to Baltimore and see their career just end. And that's Derrick Henry. I mean, I own one jersey as of right now, and it's a Derrick Henry jersey. So that just hurts and pains my soul. I mean, what he's done to this AFC South for, God, half a decade now has been amazing to watch. And there's not many times you get to go from a Eddie George to a Chris Johnson to a Derrick Henry, insert Marco Murray in there that led the AFC South for a year. I mean, we've had a great slew of running backs in Tennessee. So it pains me to see him go.
I saw something on Twitter. You guys are Mount Rushmore running backs. Was just
pretty good.
I mean, it's hard, and that's not mentioning Earl Campbell as well, which is my favorite Titan of all time. So, great running backs.
Definitely. All right, how about team MVP for 2024?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Team MVP, and I mean, it could go to L'Jarius Sneed, but I mean, it's hard not to put it on the back of Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons, as soon as Brian Callahan was hired, he didn't call Will Levis first. He called Jeffrey Simmons. And what he has done on the field, it goes unnoticed by a lot of national media, but he is a premier player at the interior of this defensive line, and pairing him with a Tavondre Sweat now and the Sebastian Joseph Day. Jeffrey Simmons is going to eat. And with Aaron Donald retiring, he could jump into that first spot potentially by the end season end.
All right, and then projected record for the Titans, and what will be the placement in the AFC South this season? Don't have to give records for everybody, but just how we think everybody will end up.
Oh, I might be breaking out a little bit, but I heard projected season standings for us and the AFC South, if I heard right. As of right now, my initial rankings, I have the Titans finishing 8 and 9, if I remember correctly, finishing second or third in the AFC South. The AFC South is pretty easy, brokenly down for me, in my opinion, and that's the Texans are finishing first as of just projections. The Colts and the Titans could be flippy flopped, second, third spot. I have us currently probably in third, and then Jacksonville is the basement right now. Is how I see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zach, you want to ask something after that?
I don't need to ask anything now.
Wow. Poor Jags.
Zach, are you a Jaguars fan?
Yes.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So
That hurt
I could break it down a little bit. So how I see it is the Texans, they've improved this offseason with just who they've brought in on this defense. And they obviously already have a CJ Stroud. The Titans, I think they've improved a lot this season, bringing in a smorgasbord of players. The Indianapolis Colts, I think, have the best base coming into the season as far as any of these franchises go. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think they've just lost a lot. Of course, they've lost Calvin Ridley to the Titans. And I just look at that receiving core and that secondary, which I think that's where the NFL is leading, and that's how you win games at this point in the season. I like Brian Thomas Jr. I don't know if he's going to come into a wide receiver one role maybe ever in his career. And then Gabe Davis, I think, may have been the overpay of the season. I didn't like him in Buffalo. Of course, these guys are big play guys. So there's going to be games where Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. have 3 touchdown catches in a game, and it might come in the same game. And then Trevor Lawrence, I've never been a big fan of ever since he was drafted. I think he was a little overhyped. And, of course, he's there for the next foreseeable future. So that's just kind of where I stand as of right now. And I think they could be kind of where I saw the Titans last season. They're going to rely on the run game. They're going to stuff the run, and they're going to hand it off to Trevor Etienne, and he's going to run. But I don't think that's where the NFL is shifting, and that's what the Titans are trying to get away from.
Okay.
So this division kind of tensions run pretty high. These teams don't really like each other. What team would you say is your biggest rival, most hated, and quarterbacks too? Because all these quarterbacks are pretty easy to compare to each other. You know, they're all kind of young, kind of similar. So
it's pretty easy. It's FTC for like fuck the Colts. I think most Titans fans would agree with me. Anthony Richardson, I actually was very high on coming out of the draft. I had him above Will Levis. So Anthony Richardson, the most athletic quarterback that has ever come out. I mean, that's just what it is. And going back, I'm deep into the draft. Anthony Richardson, a lot of the hate that he gets is that he can't go through progressions. He struggles with inaccuracies and all these things. When I look at the tape of him at Florida, which he didn't play a lot of as a starter, so it's going to take time to progress. He did move through those reads very, very well. And as far as just these hand cannons on these two quarterbacks, I mean, those are neck and neck. Elon Musk is reverse engineering Anthony Richardson and Will Levis's shoulders right now for his next rocket. So there's lots of talent amongst the man. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it sucks to see him go down last season because I was so high on him. And obviously the Titans were the one to do it. And it looks like he's struggling with that this season as well already. So that's maybe the biggest concern for him. I think he has the talent, but can he stay on the field? And obviously the play style that he has, we'll see. We'll see. There's lots of ways that this AFC South could break down. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for just how it's gonna look in general.
Definitely.
It's gonna be a fun one for sure. It's gonna be a competitive division.
All right, Jake. You want to promote yourself where we can find you before we head out?
Yeah, for sure. You can check. We'll be live tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, Glory Day Sports Show, Morning Glory Show. We'll be with my co-hosts B. Will and Jonathan Miller. It's going to be fun on the bun. Wake up, shit shower, shave, put your mayo in your cup because it's time to tighten up every Thursday morning. So it's going to be fun. Come join us there. Join me on Twitter. I'm always posting memes and shit talking over there at Glory Day Sports.
All right, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for coming on.
You were not only the first person to say smorgasbord on a Beerly Football podcast, but the first person to say it twice as well. So it was great to have you on, man.
Hey, happy to be on. Feel free to we'll have to have you all on sometime as well.
Sounds good.
All righty.
Home and home.
We need to start saying that now, like every episode.
Smorgasbord.
Yeah. Why not?
I don't think you can pronounce it correctly. You can't say sixth correctly. So.
Smorgasbord. I don't know.
All righty. We'll see you around, Jake.
We'll catch y'all later. Have a good night.
You know, I really meant to ask that guy about the dead body they found at the stadium. And
I saw that news today. But next up, we have someone who I love. I follow on Twitter. Great guy, great tweets. You're going to notice I was very quiet in that last episode or that last guest because if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. We're bringing on Jags fan Jordan DeLugo. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank y'all so much for having me. Fired up to be here. That was interesting. Tail end of that. That was interesting for sure.
It was. I agree.
No, Titans fan.
Interesting opinions.
Well,
yes.
Who would you say is the Jaguars' most hated team then?
Oh,
I think it's definitely the Titans, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So,
they
dating
talk
back
the
to
most. They talk the most trash. They're like every time I interact with a Titans fan on Twitter, it's like they're just awful. Every time. Jake was really nice. He came on the show, but every time I've interacted with Titans fans, they've just been awful. Like they just start out mean, and it's just like, just trying to have a conversation, guys. But yeah, Titans, I don't like them at all. And Arden Key only deepened that for me. So when he brought up Arden Key and said that, like, oh yeah, he's just a great guy, I'm like, is he though? The second he leaves your team, he's going to start talking crap about every player on your team.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans hate goes back, mid to late 90s. Jeff Fisher, Steve McNair, rest in peace. Eddie George, all those guys. Derek Mason. I mean, the defense was loaded, but it was the attitude. It was Jeff Fisher smack talking. It was the Jaguars not losing to a single team in 1999 outside of the Tennessee Titans. And it's kind of grown from there, obviously, over the years. I think that it's probably at its least aggressive right now between the two teams, but it's still
still
clearly the number one rival.
Definitely.
And I will say, there's a few folks out there that do a great job covering the Titans that are more media side than just fans. Yeah. And so all the folks that are, I think, like James Foster from A to Z Sports does a great job covering the Titans and the draft. And there's several other people out there. I just want to give them a shout out. A lot of Titans media does a good job, but I do think the fans are about as obnoxious as it gets. I mean, I have cordial interactions with Colts fans, with Texans fans. Very rarely do you see that with a Titans fan.
Yeah, I same. I have good interactions with Colts fans, good interactions with Texans fans. I think Jake was my first positive interaction with a Titans fan.
Was that positive?
It was. At least it was cordial. Normally they start off screeching. So
that damn whiskey in Nashville, man. Wake up with a migraine. Feels like there's a bullet in your head. I get it.
So.
And then you got to watch your team put up 18 points and barely lose the game.
Yeah, you top it off with mayo in your coffee.
Yeah,
right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
All right, George.
So much better to Duval.
I want to ask you first. What were your thoughts on the Trevor Lawrence extension?
Your honest thought.
Your honest thought.
Put the truth out.
Yeah, I was fired up about it. I think there's a lot made about how he's now the highest paid quarterback in football, and he deserves everything he gets, right? Like he busts his ass, but great leader, great player, hard worker. But when you look at the actual, in terms of the percentage of the cap that his contract is, it's like 9th, close to 10th among quarterbacks in the league. So yeah, he's getting paid the most right now because he's the one that got the deal the most recently, right? That's just kind of how it goes. But when you actually look at the percentage of the cap at the time of signing, he's nowhere near some of the other guys around the league. But it's great because it's not going to really impact the cap at all for the next couple of years. He's still on his rookie deal. You're not going to see any really big cap hits until 2028, 2029, 2030. By that time, they're going to have ripped this contract up and done another one, I'm sure. That's just kind of how it goes. And with Shad Khan, the Jaguars owner, his ability and willingness to consistently, signing bonuses, all these mechanisms that you can utilize under the salary cap. He is willing to spend the cash to make sure that the Jaguars are in a good salary cap situation. And you can say a lot of negative about what Shad Khan has done as the Jaguars owner. That's one thing he's never gotten wrong, is his willingness to spend to help his general manager, to help his football team, do the most that they possibly can within the salary cap every year.
Have you been disappointed at all by Lawrence? Like coming from his, red hot expectations, being drafted number 1 overall, like have you been exceeded at all, met your expectations, disappointed?
I think you can certainly say that there's been disappointing times while Trevor Lawrence has been the Jaguars quarterback. Do I think he's been disappointing? Absolutely not. I mean, I think that the pieces around him have been disappointing, certainly. I think he's made some mistakes. I mean, he's made some mistakes, but you look at, the most lost EPA of any quarterback on dropped passes, and you look at that highlight reel, really a low light reel of wide receivers dropping the football, not getting their feet down in bounds. You got the Jimmy Smith jersey on right now. What Trevor Lawrence would do to play with Jimmy Smith. I should have been wearing my Keenan McCardell jersey as well. So I think there's that. I think you look at what happened at center last year. When you get pressured up the middle consistently,
it's a nightmare.
It is very difficult. I mean,
hurts.
You get tackles allowing pressure off the edge. Trevor Lawrence can handle that routinely, and he does. You watch the tape, but you get pressure up the middle. I mean, that's tough to deal with. And Luke Fortner was the worst starting center in football last year. Obviously, you had a revolving door at left guard and left tackle with injuries and suspension. So it was disappointing. And then obviously the defense fell apart down the stretch for the Jaguars last year too. But when you look at a healthy Trevor Lawrence over the last 2 years, he's been lights out. And especially when Christian Kirk is healthy and on the field as well. Those two have been catalysts for Jacksonville winning football games. And when they've been healthy, the Jaguars have been really tough to beat. I think they have a dominant record outside of losing to the Chiefs 3 times.
There's a really good bond, and it's respectable, it's deserved, between Jaguars fans and Christian Kirk. I get it. But speaking of Christian Kirk, I'm glad you brought the receiver core up. A lot of names there. None of them might jump off the page to the average NFL fan, the average NFL enjoyer. But who are some of these names besides Christian Kirk who you're really excited, mostly some of the new guys, maybe Gabe Davis, maybe Brian Thomas, those guys? Who do you think is going to be the ones to really make the Jags fans happy this year? Make Zach Smith smile every Sunday.
There you go. I think what could be exciting, Calvin Ridley, obviously more talented than Gabe Davis.
I was going to ask you about him too. So if you want to talk about him, how you think he'll do in Tennessee as well, while you're on
I think it'll be really interesting. I think he should do well in Tennessee. I think it's going to be interesting how Will Levis plays. Obviously, you draft a tackle, top of the draft, J.C. Latham, bit raw, but you have Bill Callahan, who's one of the best offensive line coaches on the planet. So that's going to be it'll be interesting. I think that Calvin Ridley will perform well playing with DeAndre Hopkins. I do think that that's a nice pairing at wide receiver. I think the duo makes a little bit of sense together. But for me, the question is more about how quickly does the offensive line come together, and how quickly can they get Will Levis or get him at all playing, top half of the league quarterback play. We'll see how that plays out. I think Ridley will do well, though. I think he'll be in a position to succeed more in that offense, playing with someone who can align at X consistently on the line of scrimmage. I still think that he's got to knock some of the rust off. Like, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time a lot last year. He was not able to get his feet down a lot last year. He dropped a lot of passes in key situations. But you're hoping, if you're a Titans fan, that that year 2 of coming back from being suspended and all that stuff, that he is in a better headspace and that he's more ready to compete at a higher level than he was in 2023. But looking at the Jaguars receivers, I think what you could get excited about potentially is the fit of all the receivers together. I think that it's a group that makes more sense because even though Gabe Davis is not the same talent as Calvin Ridley, he makes more sense in the role that the Jaguars will be utilizing him in, which is as the X receiver on the line of scrimmage. He's big, he's physical, he can get downfield, high average depth of target, picks up a ton of first downs and touchdowns. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1. I think he's a low-end wide receiver 2 in the NFL. But for the role the Jaguars are going to be asking of him, I think it makes a lot of sense because you do have Christian Kirk, who's easily going to be 125 to 150 target type of guy. Evan Ingram, same thing, 125 to 150 target type of guy. And those guys feast underneath and intermediate. So you have Gabe Davis, who's going to be able to stretch the field a bit on the outside. And then the X factor is Brian Thomas Jr. This is a guy that has all the talent in the world. How quickly can the Jaguars get that talent to show on the field week to week, right? Because he's bigger, stronger, faster than just about any receiver in the NFL right now. I mean, I know he's not the biggest, but 6'3", 210 pounds, runs a 4.33 40-yard dash, can leap out of the gym, led college football in touchdown receptions last year. He is a supreme talent physically.
Mm-hmm.
How quickly can you get that to show itself as a rookie? And then you also have Travis Etienne out of the backfield, who's a very good receiving back, makes a lot of people miss in space. So I think the Jaguars have plenty of receiving targets. Do they have the alpha? No, they do not. I think that they've got, in Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, 2 very good, probably number 2s on a great passing game team, honestly.
And you mentioned earlier, the big issue last season was the offensive line. Obviously, health is going to be helping them this year, but you think they'll be able to bounce back? Yeah.
Mitch Morse, that upgrade was just
holy
so
upgrade.
needed.
Yeah, it won't be stuffed up the middle so much. Maybe Lawrence can step up in the pocket.
I use this statistic a lot. I think it was from I can't remember where it was from, but our center last year ranked 33rd in the NFL.
Right.
On pass rush win rate, and I think 34th on.
We got backups doing better than that guy. Man.
Yeah.
Good riddance.
It was pretty abysmal.
Yeah, the hilarious bit is the Jaguars still haven't said that Mitch Morse is the starter. They're still like referring to it as a competition, which is obviously.
Luke Fortner? Is he going to start?
Yeah, Luke Fortner. They're trying to keep his confidence up, which is ridiculous. But you got to do what you got to do. But Mitch Morse is going to be the starter at center. That's a huge upgrade, both in the run game and pass game. He's a veteran leader. He's experienced. He's a great athlete. I think people forget that. Like, this is a guy that is an unbelievable athlete there at center, has played for Doug Peterson before, is going to be a leader on the interior next to Brandon Sheriff, next to Ezra Cleveland, who was not on this football team to start the 2023 campaign either. As soon as he got to Jacksonville last year, he was injured, so folks didn't really get to see the best of him. And then at tackle, obviously you've got Anton Harrison at right tackle going into year 2, had a big-time year in pass protection, needs to develop as a run blocker, hopefully with a healthy season, right? He played all of last year with a injured shoulder.
Yeah.
Got it repaired this offseason. So you're hoping with another year in the league, he's able to develop a little bit more in the run game, but he's already a really good pass protector. And then at left tackle, Cam Robinson's the starter. Walker Little is the swing tackle, really the primary backup at left tackle. So you've got a good situation across the offensive line. I do think you could kind of compare it to the receiver room a little bit in the fact that maybe you don't have like that alpha. Like maybe you don't have that true number 1 offensive tackle, Pro Bowl or all pro perennial type of guy, but you have a bunch of good football players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as far as like practice and training camp, whoever those tackles are getting first team reps, they're going to have their hands full with Josh Allen, Eric Armstead, Trayvon Walker. Eric Armstead, he's looking like he's breaking in well to Duval. He's making TikToks about a chicken tender pub sub. He said it changed his life. Those things are so good. But what's that addition going to look like? You know, a good pass rusher always helps out the secondary. I know that's kind of a I don't want to over-exaggerate by saying area of concern for the Jags, but if they could bolster that up a little bit, then, you know, everybody would enjoy that in Duval. So how's Eric Armstead going to help out this defense?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tremendous for Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker and the rest of that defensive line. I think that the penetration, the disruption he's going to be able to create from the interior is going to massively help Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker get to the quarterback. And they're going to help him as well, right? Like they create pressure, especially Josh Allen, very quickly. Trayvon Walker, I think having Eric Armstead around is going to help his game.
I
Like
agree.
not only
That's a
like
great
when they're
coverage.
playing on the field together, but just being in his presence because he's a freak, super tall, great athlete. They're not in the same mold, but they have exceptional traits, rare traits for their size. And so I think that Eric Armstead is going to help all those guys. I think Devon Hamilton being healthy is an underrated storyline as well. This is a guy that was a wrecking ball on the interior in 2022, throughout the 2023 offseason and to training camp and preseason before the abscess on his spine kind of derailed last year for him. He's back and ready to go. But yeah, I think how does that impact the secondary? It'll be interesting. I think in the safety room, you've got good players, very, very good players in the safety
Oh,
room.
yeah.
I feel very confident there with Andre Cisco,
very
Antonio
underrated.
Johnson.
I like that guy a lot.
And then corner, I think Tyson Campbell is due for a bounce back year after what was an injury plagued season. I think the fit with Ryan Nielsen will be interesting to see if he's running a lot more man coverage, how he holds up in that regard. You know, looking at your other corner though, Ronald Darby, he's a good corner when healthy, but he struggled to stay healthy throughout his career. And then after him, you're looking at Buster Brown, Jarian Jones, who is a promising, talented young rookie, but a rookie. And then not much else you can get excited about, really, in my opinion, at this point. So I do think the depth is a question at corner. I also think that potentially you don't have a great pairing of starting outside corners, but I think you have enough to get by. Again, is it super exciting? No, it's probably the worst position group on the team. But if Tyson Campbell plays the way he did before he got hurt last year, they're going to be looking just fine. I do believe that.
And when going back to the O-line, you talked a little bit about Ezra Cleveland. It's also really hard to play the guard position well when the guy just to your right is having a historically bad season. So,
Yeah, no question.
obviously he's injured and his center is really struggling to both pass block and run block.
Yeah, no question. And there's examples on tape where it looks like not only Ezra Cleveland, but also Brandon Sheriff, these guys are abandoning their assignment to try to help Luke Fortner. And so you just have a cratering interior offensive line because the center can't get his job done and the two guards both know it.
Yeah.
So that's never a recipe for success. And I think, again, Mitch Morse will solidify that.
Yeah.
And he'll make the guys around him better.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap it up with this final segment. Rapid fire. I'm going to ask
Wait.
you what?
I just want to give a shout out to Terrell Edmonds. I like that signing a lot. I think he's a very serviceable player. Not a household name, but I think that was a very good signing for the. And Kerry's about to play rapid fire for you. And he's going to ask you what was the best signing. So if you want to say Terrell Edmonds, go ahead.
All right. I'm going to ask you about 10 questions. I don't want you to think. Just quick answer. And you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. If you'd be friends with any player in the Jaguars, who'd it be?
Oh, God. Josh Allen.
Best move of the offseason. Best move of the offseason.
Mitch Morse.
Worst move of the offseason.
It's so hard not to think. This is tough. Let's say losing Calvin Ridley.
What grade do you give the Jaguars draft class this year?
I gave it a B minus, B, somewhere in that range.
All right. Jaguars' biggest weakness and biggest strength heading into this season.
I think the biggest weakness on paper is the cornerback depth. I think the biggest strength is Trevor Lawrence.
All right. Team MVP for 2024.
Trevor Lawrence.
And then one surprising and one disappointing player for this season.
Someone who will be surprising, I'll say Devon Hamilton. Someone who will be disappointing, let's say Cam Robinson.
All right. Zach, take it away for the final question. I think you know what it is.
So I asked this question to everyone that comes on the podcast. It's going to be a fun night for me. How many wins do you think the Jaguars get this year?
11.
11. Okay. I like it.
Yeah, my original prediction was 10. I have them at 11 right now. They face potentially 3 rookie quarterbacks. They face the Colts twice, who, Gus Bradley's defense has been like butter. Trevor Lawrence just being able to shred and cut through that defense like it's butter with a knife. So I think that Trevor is going to be able to handle the Colts. I think that they'll split with the Texans, and I think they're going to have their time against the Titans as well, because I think the Titans could be heading in the right direction. I'm still not sold on Will Levis, and I think that they've got a ways to go on the offensive line. So I think they're going to have a good time within the division. I think they're going to play potentially 3 rookie quarterbacks, and they'll be able to hold their own in the rest of the contest they play against some tougher teams.
All righty.
And then do you want to promote yourself where people can find you, plug anything?
Yeah, for sure. You can find me on YouTube at JenJag. You can follow me on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. You can also check out my NFL YouTube channel at Rogue Football, where I talk all things NFL. Just dropped my top 10 offenses in the league earlier this week.
Yeah.
Jaguars were not among them. Neither were
Any
the Titans.
AFC South teams? Houston?
Yes, Houston and Indy.
Woo! I love it.
Yes, Houston was at 9. Indy was at 10.
Oh,
Shane
where can I find
Steichen's
that?
a fantastic offensive coordinator, obviously the head coach, but a fantastic offensive coordinator, just guy that can get the job done on the offensive side of the ball. Anthony Richardson's the X factor there, clearly, but they have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. I think that their defense is going to struggle considering the corner situation and Gus Bradley's defensive scheme.
Where can I find that? I'd love to read that.
It's on Rogue Football. It's on YouTube at Rogue Football.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to check that out. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, top 10 offenses in the league this year.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on, Jordan.
Absolutely. Been a
Thank
big
you
fan
guys
for a
for
while.
having me.
Super happy to have you on.
I really appreciate you having me. Y'all have a good one.
You too.
Let's talk about the city with the most beautiful dark-skinned women
No,
in the
not that.
country, the Houston Texans. And you know, Stephon
What is that
Diggs is talking about
introduction?
It's so weird every time.
What a start! What a start,
Let me ask you
boys!
something.
How we doing? This is beer league football. You're drinking a Smirnoff Ice. I saw you drinking Coke.
That's correct.
Oh, no.
Drinking out of
It's
a
to
goblet.
end slander, though. I'm halfway done.
Let's go. Let's crack a beer and let's talk some
Of
football.
course.
We
I
should
like
have
it.
this guy on yesterday, man.
Golly, what's up, fellas?
Good to have you on, man. I don't know, I don't have many Houston Texans friends, but if this is what they're all like, I might be a Houston Texans fan myself.
Yeah, no, that's what we do in Texas. We talk football and drink beer.
I mean, what
Sounds
else
like
do
the
you
life.
like?
Really?
Sounds
Sounds
like the
really.
life.
Sounds like what our whole show is about. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
you guys got for me? Let's talk some football.
Let's do it. Before we get into all that, the fans, anybody who wants to interact with you, some Texans fans that have never heard of you before, where can they find you? You got any work, any content that you'd like to promote?
Yeah, absolutely. So you find me on YouTube. I'll just type the name in here on YouTube. Got a ton of videos and do something, darn near every day. On YouTube, then I got my website, Houston Football, where I do all my writing about the Houston Texans. So always some free content, subscription elements to it as well. And that's where the folks can find me. Just throw my name in your Google machine and you'll find whatever you need to find.
Good.
Honestly,
Sounds good.
I want to say, obviously, if you're a Chiefs fan, last year was pretty good. But otherwise, would you want to be any other team than a Texans fan last year? I mean, you found your
Okay, I don't know
quarterback,
about
a
that.
great
I
coach.
don't think the Texans had the
Nobody-
second best year in the NFL.
Nobody thought the Texans were going to be anything last year, and look at them now.
That's not true. I said prior to last year, CJ Stroud was the best quarterback in the draft. And when the Houston Texans got him, I was like, he's going to be a great quarterback year one. I said that from the outset.
As far as
I'm never wrong on quarterbacks.
as far as preseason expectation to where they ended up and what you found along the way, you'd have a hard argument against the Texans. I mean, the Chiefs started the year with Super Bowl aspirations. The Ravens were supposed to play in the AFC Championship game. Like, you look at the teams that got to where they are, maybe the Lions, but there were still high hopes for the Lions. I mean, they were
Packers
a bunch of
was pretty
dudes.
fun.
Yeah.
So it's, look, to go from the dregs of the AFC to have ruined this franchise quarterback situation, to have had 2 one-and-done head coaches, and then to go to a franchise legend as the head coach, have him come in, reignite the excitement for the organization, go in there, think that you screwed yourself out of the best quarterback, actually end up with the best quarterback, then trade for the best defensive lineman in the draft, and walk out of there with that, get a local guy in Tank Dell. He's from Florida, but he played at Houston. To get that guy in the draft, have the offseason that they did with a couple I don't know if this is going to work out signings, and then to really have that big dip to start the year, 0-2 to start the year. It took them a second to get their feet underneath them, but by the middle of the year, I don't think anybody wanted to see the Texans on their schedule. And I know this year, look, the schedule is tougher for the Texans, and C.J. Stroud said this last year, and I think this is kind of the mantra, the mentality that the Texans take into this season. Yeah, the Texans' schedule is tougher, but you know what? Those teams have to play the Houston Texans. That's the mantra this organization has.
Yeah, the Texans are no easy W for anybody looking across their schedule, just chalking up a W easily, except maybe some very top tier teams.
Until they beat Baltimore, I'm gonna pick Baltimore against them till the end.
That playoff game, that must have sucked as a Texans fan. Y'all were pretty neutralized.
I mean, 30 minutes away. It's a close game. 30 minutes away from the first ever AFC Championship. You come out of halftime and your teeth just get kicked in. Yeah, it wasn't fun.
Yeah, the first half was fun. But yeah, you talked a little about the offseason. I want to talk about the draft a little bit. No first round pick this year. The first pick they made, Kamari Lassiter. I love that pick. I think he's one of the best corners in the draft out of Georgia. He's very physical. He looked good in training camp, covering Diggs a little bit. Probably going to be in that slot role a little bit. But besides him, the first pick, a lot of variety, running backs, linebackers, tight ends, some secondary, some line guys. Anybody kind of showing out in training camp? Anybody that the Texans fans are excited for that maybe is not a household name? Or
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Kamari Lassiter is the guy in this draft class that you're paying the most attention to and has showcased the most in mini camps and OTAs. I mean, was step for step with Tank Dell and a bunch of reps in mini camp and OTAs. Same with Stephon Diggs. I mean, the nickname's the locksmith, and he was locking cats down in what is supposed to be an offensive-centric portion of the offseason schedule. Like, they're not in pads. There's no pass rush. A lot of it's 7-on-7, and he's out there holding his own, damn near day one.
Right.
And so he's the guy that's been most impressive from the draft class. You haven't seen a lot from the rest of the draft class. I mean, it's an offensive tackle. You can't glean too much from that, in minicamp and OTAs. Kalen Bullock is buried on the depth chart right now, but there's some long-term potential for him. Same with Cade Stover, buried on the depth chart, but again, long-term potential. They love Cade Stover. The way that they talk about Cade Stover is not the way they talk about every player when they draft a guy or they bring a guy in. Just they think the world of him. They were looking at him during the scouting of C.J. Stroud. Nick Caserio talked about it. They hired a new linebackers coach this year. His first day on the job is the scouting combine this past year. He walks up to Nick Caserio. He's like, hey, blah, 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 thanks for hiring me. We have to draft Cade Stover. And Nick Caserio's like, we're on it. Don't worry about it. We already spent a year looking at this guy. We're ready to, really try to go out there and get him. They traded up for him in the draft. Real fun draft pick. Obviously, he played with C.J. Stroud at Ohio State.
Yeah, I think I heard that story. Yeah.
They are tight. I mean, they are really good friends. Their families are good friends. Two totally different worlds. Rancho Cucamonga, California, Mansfield, Ohio, West Coast, farm, two totally different dudes. I'm excited about Stover more in the future, not necessarily right now. And really that draft class is, as far as 2024 goes, it's Kamari Lassiter. That's who you're paying the most attention to.
Yeah.
I hope to God Blake Fisher doesn't get on the field. Like, I mean, they got the most expensive tackle duo in football, it feels like, and we haven't seen them play since they both got paid big bucks, and Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard. So I hope Fisher never sees the field, which means Titus Howard and Tunsil were healthy for the entire year, and that'd be something fun to watch for Texans fans. But this draft class, I kind of count Stephon Diggs as an addition via the draft class.
Yeah, that was the first round pick. Stephon
Yeah, they trade back out of the first and then use some of the draft capital from that trade to go get Stephon Diggs. And, he is a fun watch. I mean, it doesn't look like he's missed a step. He's one of the most productive receivers in football over the past 4 seasons. Going to be some adjustments for him. He's number 2 in targets over the past 4 years. That ain't going to be the case here. He had 161 targets on average in Buffalo. Nico Collins had 109 targets as the leading receiver for the Texans last year. So different situation for Diggs, but I kind of count him as a draft class addition because they use the capital.
And while we're on the Diggs conversation, I'm glad we get to talk about him in a positive light. The Buffalo Bills fans have a much bigger seems like audience on Twitter than I see from Houston, and the talk on Stephon Diggs is always downward. When I'm talking to Carrie, when I'm talking to Zach, they hate on Diggs.
Okay,
let's
relax.
Josh Allen.
It's not hate on
Diggs.
Diggs. You're saying that he's a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL today, and I'm saying no.
No, he's top.
I don't think he's
top 7 or 8 though.
Well, I hope you're right.
Yeah. even if the numbers don't prove it, I think Stephon Diggs
it's not hate. It's just like I think he's still a very, very good wide receiver. I just don't have him as highly ranked as Trevor, and Trevor classifies it as hate.
I would tell you that there are wide receivers that would have done a whole lot less with what Diggs got from a target share standpoint. And I'd tell you there's a handful of guys that would have done a whole lot more if they were getting 161 targets.
Yeah, handful, and you only got 5 fingers, so I said 7. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, Stephon's not even the best receiver on his own team. Nico Collins is better than him right now.
You think so?
The way Nico played last year, just excuse me, I don't want to interrupt you, but the way Nico played last year, the evolution of him from a pigeonholed, run down the sideline, throw it up to the guy, to actually letting him run all the routes. Second best wide receiver in football against man coverage last year. Only CeeDee Lamb was better. And how are you going to man up Nico Collins when Tank Dell's on the field, when Stephon Diggs is on the field, Joe Mixon's catching the ball out of the backfield, Dalton Schultz is at tight end. So now you got to zone up Nico. He is going to annihilate defenses.
And
this offense is really
with them
put together very well.
Like, it's not even the 1 through 3 wide receivers. Like Robert Woods, Noah Brown, John Mechie, their 4 through 6 are still quality depth guys. Like Noah Brown had a great year last year. He's better than wide receiver 4 in a lot of teams. I'd take him as wide receiver 2 in the Patriots, honestly.
Yeah, if one of these top 3 guys,
you take any wide receiver as a wide receiver 2 on the Patriots.
I'd take Ben Skronik on the Texans.
Put some respect on Ben Skoronik's name.
Gary can't pronounce anything, so
ask him to say 6th. Yeah. Like, I finished 6th in this race.
Oh, Carrie, don't do this to me.
Let's see if I can get it. 6th. One of these days.
Speaking of this wide receiver core, you talked about Joe Mixon a little bit, bringing him back. You got the veterans at the running back. You got a very good wide receiver core. You got some beautiful dark-skinned women. You got everything in Houston. You got the memory of James Harden that one year, 2018. So this really seems like the year where everybody's saying, Houston barely squeezed it out last year and it was their division, but this year the division belongs to Houston. Are you buying into that? Do you think it'll be a sort of fight to the top, or do you think Houston's going to walk through this division and win it rather easily?
Look, there's nothing easy about this division. I mean, they were a Jaguars' poor performance. If that flips on the final day of the season, the Texans are the final seed in the AFC. They're not winning the AFC South. This was a hotly contested division, and I feel like each of these teams got better this offseason. Like this AFC South, it's not the AFC North. I feel like that's the most competitive division in football, and you can make an argument for any of those guys or any of those teams winning that division. You can't do that for the Titans. Don't see it. Don't believe in it. But if you told me the Jaguars or the Texans or the Colts win this division, I'd believe you. Like I have a tremendous amount of respect for Shane Steichen in Indianapolis. I don't believe in Anthony Richardson, but if there's anybody that could figure it out, it's Shane Steichen. a healthy Jonathan Taylor. That offensive line's nasty. I don't think their defense is worth a damn. But if they score enough points, that defense can take
That
care
front seven is worth a damn and a half. But that secondary,
I think their defense is a two-man show. I think it's DeForest Buckner and I think it's Zaire Franklin. I don't think any of those other guys are worth a crap. Including EJ Speed, who's been shooting his mouth off all offseason about CJ Stroud. Let's see how that goes week 1, pal. Okay. And then for Jacksonville, like they're a team of maybes. Maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that. Well, if they get enough maybes to go the right way, I mean, they're right there in the thick of things. I mean, Evan Ingram's one of the most targeted players in football last year. I think it was 5th in reception, 6th in reception, something like that. That's a tight end. I love Brian Thomas Jr. That was a really good pick by them. Gabe Davis is a lifelong number 2 receiver, but maybe they get a little bit more out of him. And then Trevor Lawrence, like I know it was disappointing at times last year. The guy was hurt. Like he was hurt last year. A healthy Trevor Lawrence should be much better.
He was hurt, and he had the 33rd best center in the league.
Oh, yeah. No, their offensive line's a joke. That's a scary thing for them. But, I mean, it's funny because I talked to a friend of mine who covers the Jaguars, and she was saying number one focus this offseason, the offensive line, and they only changed out the center. And it's like, oh.
That was a big change, though, because, I mean,
sure.
We're upgrading from literally, like, in both pass and run, his win rate was 33rd and 34th in the NFL. Good. That's horrible. There's backups doing better. And you upgrade to a guy that's top 12 at the position and a good athlete.
Yeah.
That's a big upgrade. And it upgrades the guys standing next to him, both guards, a former Pro Bowler, Brandon Scherf, and then a guy who's shown some promise in his name escapes me because I'm on number 5 Ezra Cleveland. There you go.
Yeah. And look, I think it's going to be a tough division. It's going to be a really competitive division. I think as a division slammed together, they have the best wide receivers of any division in football because the Titans will tell you they're 3 deep. The Texans are obviously 3 deep. I love Adonai Mitchell. He ended up on the Colts. He's fantastic. I like Michael Pittman, fairly well. And then, the Jaguars have a bunch of guys who've always been number 2. Somebody's got to be the number 1 there. Thomas was a 2 at LSU. Gabe was a 2 in Buffalo. Kirk was the 2 in Arizona. But somebody will be the number 1 there. I mean, from a division standpoint, it's a good wide receiver conglomeration, if you will. So it should be a competitive division. I mean, look, I feel confident about the Houston Texans. I feel like their floor is a wild card spot. Their ceiling is obviously, one of the best teams in the AFC and winning the division by a couple of games. But you're going to need some help elsewhere on the other team's schedules if that's going to be the case. Because I have some tremendous respect for Indianapolis, and I have a decent amount of respect for Jacksonville. I got no respect.
What was that word you just used? Agglomeration?
Conglomeration. It's a combination of various small things into a big thing.
Trevor, aren't you supposed to be in law school?
Yeah, but I mean, we had a guy tonight.
Oh boy, somebody's getting the death penalty if you're their lawyer.
Yeah.
now, what was that? Smorgasbord and what?
Yeah. Conglomeration.
Conglomerate.
You need to read your dictionary, son.
Trevor is defending someone in trial, and he goes to the judge. He's like, "Judge, I would just like to ask. I don't know what he said. Can you please explain to me the definition?"
We're on
it's
a
gonna be like a
podcast
spelling
about
bee
beer and football, and I got to bring my fucking thesaurus next week, man.
No, thesaurus would tell you the synonyms, not the definition. You need a dictionary.
I gotta bring
there we go.
I got to bring a
dictionary,
encyclopedia, thesaurus, and whatever the third thing's called.
Dictionary.
Oh
my god!
I got to bring a dictionary so I can know what books to bring.
Merriam and Webster rolling over in their grave right now.
Dictionary so I can figure out what a dictionary is, man. I am down bad. I'm one of them women from Houston.
All right, I got an actual question.
Sure.
Obviously, incredible season last year. Where would you put CJ Stroud in your quarterback rankings heading into next season?
That's a great question.
It's an interesting one for people.
I'm going to go through the guys that I feel for sure are better than him, and then we can have a conversation about a handful of guys. So Mahomes and Lamar. Okay, those guys are better than C.J. Stroud. Josh Allen's better than C.J. Stroud. I would tell you that there's a good amount of conversation that needs to occur with just about anybody else. Like, I'll for sure, without conversation, put those three guys, Allen, Lamar, and Mahomes ahead of C.J. Stroud, and lock that part up. But if you want to throw anybody else at me, like, I'll have a conversation that they're CJ's at least on the same street as them. You know, maybe the same zip code, but at least the same street. Like, I really like Dak. I feel like Dak is a incredible regular season quarterback. And if you want to tell me he's better than C.J. Stroud, I'll listen to you statistically, and the track record would tell you that, you know, he's had a lot more production. Do I feel like C.J. can pass him, be better than him this year? Absolutely, I do. So I would tell you, for the lowest for me, he's going to go is 6'7", and the highest could be 4.
Okay.
Fair.
Like he's better than 2.
I don't hate that at all.
Like if he was on the Dolphins this year, they'd have a better season with C.J. Stroud than Tua. Same with the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff. Like Purdy, I mean, you give Shanahan C.J. Stroud, they'd score 90 touchdowns. Like,
yeah.
You know, people put Jordan Love in the same conversation as CJ. I don't see it. Obviously, Love's got an opportunity to prove it this year. I've never been a big Jordan Love fan, but he played far better than I thought he was going to.
You could say I have a catchphrase on this show.
Are you saying no love for love or something?
I don't believe in love.
Oh.
Even better.
Look, I don't do any of us. It's the night before a holiday. We're doing a podcast talking about football.
Right, yeah.
You know? So, I mean, look, if you want to go track record, you want to go with what guys accomplished last year. Statistically, there were a lot of guys that were better than CJ. And there's guys that obviously have longer track records. But I believe in his ability to shore up some of the things that weren't good last year. The team's going to be better. And it should be a really impressive 2024 season for Stroud.
All right, and then we'll wrap it up with rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you about 10 questions. Don't want you to think. It's fast answer. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, if you could be friends with any player on the Texans, who would it be?
Ooh, CJ Stroud probably. I mean, he's inviting teammates over and has a private chef cook for them. Eventually, he's going to be one of the highest paid players in football. He seems like he's got a tight-knit crew, and he takes care of them. I go with CJ.
And you might run into Amber Rose, depending on the night.
There's far better, I think, in CJ.
Yeah. All right, best move of the offseason.
Daniil Hunter. There's a chance that he's even better in this system. That's a thing that the Texans have talked about. In their version of their style of defense, they believe there's more to Daniil Hunter's game than what he did last year. And to remind you, he was 5th in the sacks in the NFL, and he tied for the league leading tackles for a loss. So if he gets better than that, it's scary. Daniil Hunter's the best move of the offseason.
Yeah,
How about worst move of the offseason?
Not getting a legitimate backup offensive tackle. Blake Fisher's a rookie, closer to a project than a player at this point. And then Charlie Heck, who would be the other backup tackle. He put together, I think Pro Football Focus graded it as one of the worst halves of football in the history of their system. He did that last year, and then they had to bench him and put somebody else in. That's the tackles if Titus Howard or Larry Tunsil can't play, and that's a little scary situation.
Mm-hmm. All right. What grade would you give the Texans draft?
B.
I mean, you get Diggs.
Yeah, I mean, look, could they have stayed and got a different player in the first round and not had Diggs? And would I have given it a B+? Sure. I'll take the B, and if you want to add Diggs into the conversation as part of the draft class, I think that's like extra credit that moves it up to like an A-.
All right.
Okay.
What is the Texans' biggest strength heading into next season?
They're going to annihilate people with their front seven. Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter off the edges. The defensive tackle room, there's less names. There's guys you've never heard of in this defensive tackle room. They're there to do their job and not freelance and make everything else work for everyone else. And then Azeez Al-Shire, the linebacker they signed from the Tennessee Titans, they love him. They speak super highly of him. He's going to be the DeMeco Ryans on the field. He knows the defense. He played for DeMeco in San Francisco. He's going to have everybody in the right situation. Plus, he's just a monster. I mean, I think he was 5th in the league in tackles last year. Most of those tackles within the first 3 yards of the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. Like, he's a monster.
All right. How about biggest weakness heading into this season?
Secondary as a whole, Derek Stingley is going to be really good this year if he stays healthy. 4 straight seasons of football, 2 in college, 2 in the pros. He's been hurt. Kamari Lassiter is a rookie. Jeff Okudah is a disappointment to this point in his NFL career. 3rd team after being a 3rd pick overall.
Yeah.
C.J. Henderson, disappointment. C.J. Henderson, same situation, same draft, 3rd team after being a top 10 pick.
I like C.J. Henderson though.
He had a really good OTAs and minicamp. C.J. Henderson did.
I also hate Jeff Okudah because he made my he's one of the bad predictions I've made.
I hate him because he took that best defensive.
I thought he was going to be so good.
Award from Vernon Hargreaves in college.
Man, he in college he was one of the best corners I've seen in a long time. In college. It hadn't clicked yet for him in the pros. The safeties, look, Jalen Petrie has to bounce back. He was horrible last year. Jimmy Ward didn't stay healthy last year. And then they've got some depth, but you don't want to play the depth. You want to play the starters. So secondary as a whole is their biggest weakness.
All right. How about team MVP 2024?
I mean, it's kind of annoying to pick the quarterback, so I'll just go with Danielle Hunter. Obviously, most of us who you do this with are going to say the quarterback, I would think, unless you got a crappy quarterback like half the league. That's one of the fun things I get to do now. I get to be a quarterback elitist.
There you go.
Because the Texans finally have a good quarterback, so I get to turn my nose up and act like a British snob against other people's quarterbacks. So I'm going to go with Danielle Hunter.
Does your quarterback have a positive?
Did your quarterback win the Offensive Rookie of the Year? Yes, I'll go with Danielle Hunter. I really,
Chargers fan.
I really think there's some nastiness yet to be unlocked in his game, and he's already one of the nastiest defensive linemen in football.
All right. How about one surprising and one disappointing player?
Surprising player is I'm going to go with Christian Harris, linebacker. I mean, I can literally remember what I was doing and where I was when like the switch flipped for Christian Harris last year. It was the Tampa Bay game, middle of the season. I texted a buddy of mine, and I was like, dude, Christian Harris stinks. He has not got it together. He can't figure it out. And from the moment I hit send, Christian Harris' season just went through the roof. Like, he was incredible from that moment on. And
I love when that happens.
It's like the universe sent him the text message in his brain instead of my friend, and he just clicked for him. He was fantastic down the stretch, had the big interception, Flacco in the playoffs, and him with Azeez Al-Shire could be nasty. I feel like you have to have really good linebacker play to be a really good defense, and Al-Shire and Christian Harris should be that for the Texans. And player that might disappoint, till I see it from Titus Howard, I can't say that he's going to play at a really high level at right tackle. He's solidly average. He's unfortunately paid like one of the highest paid right tackles in football. Played only left guard last year. He stinks at guard. He's always stunk at guard. But he's going to play right tackle this year. If he can be above average or good at right tackle, I'll be happy to eat my words. But I can't buy into it until I see it.
All right, and the last one for me, projected record for the Houston Texans.
Oh, man. I think when I did I call it the win-win, loss-loss game. I feel like when I did that the first time, I think I had 12 wins for the Texans.
Okay.
I think you should do that 5 times with your team. I think you do it the day the schedule comes out. I think a random summer day where you're missing football, you should do it. You should do it before training camp starts. You should do it as soon as training camp's over, and then you do it the day of the first game.
Should you do it sober each time?
Whatever level of consciousness you want to have,
Okay,
do it each time. And then you compare those.
It's a good idea.
Compare those over the course of the year. But I'll say 12 wins. I feel pretty good about it. I think there's some places that are, the over-under's 9.5, and I'd put the mortgage on over.
Definitely.
Do I need to explain mortgage to the one guy in the bottom?
You might
Yeah,
have
do you know what a mortgage is, Trevor?
Yeah. Well, sadly, I know what that is because one time I put the mortgage on the I forget who it was. I think it was the Nationals or somebody to beat the Colorado Rockies, and they were up like 3 runs in the 9th inning, but they came back and won. So
That
I
sounds
kind of
good.
refrained from betting. But if you're a betting man, take the mortgage out, put it on the Houston Texans to win more than 9.5 games.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
They know
All right.
something we know with the script. CJ Stroud gets hurt or something in week 2, and then you got to play. Well,
Davis Mills, the giraffe man.
If they got to play Mills, they're sunk.
Yeah.
Everybody's sunk if they lose their starter, though. So
Good. All right, Zach, ask it away.
Alrighty. So the Houston Texans are my most liked rival in this division.
Come on, respect the Colts.
I hate the Colts. Oh, no, I don't hate the Colts. I just dislike them. I hate the Titans. Houston's I'm kind of neutral on. I like Houston Texans because you know what? Guess what? They made me look really good by drafting CJ Stroud and him having a big year last year. And I've always been a fan of Nico Collins. They've made a bunch of great decisions, which makes me think as an organization they're moving in the right direction. I like that. I'm a Jaguars fan. So how many wins do you think the Jaguars get this year? And I know, just before you answer, I know you said the Jaguars are a team, a lot of maybes, and I agree with you. As a fan, I think those maybes are going to go in the right direction. But I completely understand going 50-50 at those maybe doesn't end up that great.
good Lord, you guys might start 0-4.
Woo!
Wow.
Three of the first 4 on the road: Miami, Buffalo, and Houston on the road. Cleveland at home. Cleveland's not fair. You probably upset Cleveland. Let's see here.
Think so?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do agree with this. I was listening to the Jaguars guy. I do agree the Texans and the Jags will split. 7, 8, 9. I'll go with 10.
Okay.
I'll go with 10. I'll go with 10, and that's probably some close ones flipping the Jaguars way, but I'll go with 10.
Okay.
Yeah, which would be a couple games behind the Texans,
Okay. That's totally fine.
Yeah. You guys Mad Men fans?
I've never watched Mad Men.
I've watched the first season.
All right, well, then my pop culture reference is going to be lost on you guys.
That's okay. Make it anyway.
There's a moment in Mad Men where the main character, Don Draper, is in the elevator, and some guy walks in and he's upset with Don, and he's like, I've been mad at you and been thinking about you all day. What do you have to say for yourself? And Don Draper looks at him and goes, I don't even think of you. And he just walks off the elevator. That's kind of how I feel about the Jaguars sometimes. Like, I don't even think of you, and I just walk off the elevator.
Okay.
So it's not like the little.
I mean, that's
brother,
a little
like
hurtful, but okay.
It's like
I got
I
got no love for the Jaguars because I think the Duval thing is the dumbest thing in the NFL. Is the dumbest thing in the NFL. I hope they move the stadium to a different county in Jacksonville when they build a new one.
It's never happening.
Put it in Collier County, man. Make a chant out of that.
What province is it in England when they play half their games over there? And there's no other team in the league that cares about what county they're in. That's so Florida.
It is so Florida, and that's what makes it great because I'm from Florida.
Same. I'm in Florida. I'm from Florida, and I've never.
Shout out to the 863 boys. Let's go.
Wow. The further you get away from the Shalimar golf course, the worse your life gets.
That's true.
Goodness. All right, Cody. Where
Actually,
can
that's not true.
find you on YouTube again?
Just throw the name into the YouTube search bar. All the stuff will come up for you. And Houston Football, I do all my writing about the Texans. Free stuff on there, subscription as well if you feel inclined. And just send me the address, and I'll make sure I get some dictionaries in the mail to you guys.
Seriously, dude, I can't do that. Because all I've been reading is this golf book that's supposed to make me good at golf, and I've gotten worse.
I mean, you could just take a lesson from
Yeah.
a guy that is a professional.
Zach,
His name's Zachary Smith.
About golf for you. I'm going to ask you at the end of the episode or when we get off.
Now, is there a Colts guy coming after me?
No,
the
there's
Colts
not.
guy
They
tonight.
they
Oh,
were
you're
too
the Colts
scared.
guy.
They're too
Okay.
scared to come on this episode. Sadly.
Okay,
I'm not
I
a
was going to
Colts fan,
say
but I have a crush on Anthony Richardson, so
if
close enough.
careful, you hug him too hard, he breaks.
Good one.
So
Same.
I was going to say if you had somebody come in here after me, I mean, we should have done it in order of division finish, okay? But if it's going to be this is going to be you talking Colts. That's fine. That's fine. All right, fellas. Cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
See you guys around.
See ya.
So,
Alrighty.
I would like, first of all, guests have been great tonight. I would like to give a warm screw you to the glue that was used to my goblet because it broke during the last segment. And I spilled wine all over my underwear because I'm not wearing pants tonight. So I'm just gonna toughen this last segment out. But
All right. Wait. Before we start this last segment, I would like the opportunity to respond to everything that was said.
Zach, this isn't 2020.
Well, thanks for that.
Hello,
Presidential
we're
debate.
in a presidential candidate race. Okay, I feel like this is debate, and I have the opportunity to respond.
Let
Wait,
Zach
Joe.
go.
I would like 2 minutes, please.
Joe Biden is on the podcast.
Not yet. We're working on
We should
getting him
have
on
like
next
a
week. We're
really
trying to get in
football
touch with these
politics
people.
tonight.
Alrighty. So, number one. Sorry, Titans, you're finishing bottom of the division. Will Levis is not that good. Relax, okay? Just because a guy can throw the ball a long ways does not mean he's a good quarterback. Sorry.
Tell that to Jay Cutler.
Huh?
Tell that to Jay Cutler.
Jay Cutler's not good either.
Never say that about our hero.
Zach, I have a question, but I'm gonna forget it if I don't get it out right now.
That's fine.
So, if I forget it or if I interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So say the Jags and the Colts both finish 10-7, 9-8, and they split the series. Who gets second place? Is it strength of schedule or previous win? Who beat the other one? Do you know?
I
Gary?
believe it's either points differential or points for, like most points scored.
Okay, gotcha. All right, carry
I
on.
believe. I could be wrong on that.
Does anyone want to make a bet?
I'll make a bet.
Yeah, I love betting. Let's do it.
Anthony Richardson versus Will Levis. Whoever has the better rating at the end of the season.
Wait, quarterback rating or
Passer
Yeah.
rating?
passer rating, QBR? What are we talking about?
Passer rating.
Betting on that shit?
Anyone want to take that or no?
No, let's do something
No.
more. Yeah, of course you want to take the pass. Don't be a dweeb, bro. Let's do something else.
I'm just putting a feeler out there.
Don't be a
Passer
dweeb,
rating.
bro.
Good nut job.
I don't know.
But anyway, to continue what I was talking about earlier.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, first off, sorry, Titans, you're finishing bottom of the division. Your offensive line is terrible.
What's their
Your
record?
franchise ended the moment Derrick Henry decided to leave your sorry ass to go to Baltimore and actually have a chance to win a championship. Colts, we're going to talk about them in a minute. They're good. It's going to be a competitive division. The Texans, you guys are fine. You guys, wasted some capital and some stuff on a wide receiver that you didn't need in Stephon Diggs. I'm just going to be frank. They didn't need Stephon Diggs. What they needed was a secondary. But, yeah, that's fine. Pad your wide receiver room with guys that are going to split catches with talented young players. Guys that are way past their prime, by the way. Stephon Diggs, way past his prime. And then they're going to split catches and take catches away from talented young wide receivers. That's fine by me as a Jags fan. Because
Dog, they got 3.5, 4.5 good receivers. You guys have like one good corner.
that's fine.
Well, okay. It's fine.
We're
right
better
now.
in his zone anyway.
June.
We're better in his
July,
zone
whatever
anyway.
fucking month it is. But
Huh?
when September, October, November rolls around,
We're going to split. Even the Texans fans said we're going to split.
Well, Texans fans are wrong all the time, except when it comes to
Both the
money.
Texans and the Jags fans said we're going to split. I agree. We're probably going to split with the Texans.
Zach,
that's
is
fine.
it true? Is it true that you have Jags, Texans, Colts, Titans in the reverse order you just talk to them in? Because I feel like that's going to be your standings.
Obviously, I'm going to pick my own team to win the division.
All right, your mustache looks good right now. Keep going.
Obviously, I'm going to pick my own team to win the division. I have the Texans coming in second, Colts coming in third, and the Titans finishing dead fucking last.
Yes, Titans fifth.
Because guess what? Their quarterback's mediocre. Their offensive line is bad.
Wait, are we talking about the Jaguars?
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. Sorry,
I'm not wrong.
my quarterback at the Jaguars has actually had more than 2 good games in his career.
What, he's
Sorry.
at 4? Like 4?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, he didn't come back in a playoff game down 27-0. That never happened. That never happened. He's never made it to the playoff. Yeah, Will Levis has made it to the playoffs and come back from 27-0. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
How did he
I'm
get
sorry.
down?
I'm sorry, but I have a little more faith in one over the other.
The guy that threw, 4 interceptions in one half of a playoff game?
And then what did he do, Kerry? What happened?
He's bailed out by
What happened?
Justin
What
Herbert.
happened?
Choke job.
What happened?
Bailed out by Justin Herbert.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Do you guys think if we all made a diss track about our most hated teams that we would go viral?
No, because we're not, or me and you are okay at rapping. Kerry's terrible.
No, Jerry has a song on YouTube, actually.
Milky, now, give it.
What?
I've never played you that song, Zach?
Never, dude. What the fuck?
I'll send it to you, Zach.
Anyway,
by the way,
Colts.
the slander ends tonight. Count the caps. Count the caps.
Wow, Zach.
That's 6 caps. The entire case. This is the
Absolutely.
last one.
Bro, okay, bro's going to throw up in the next 5 minutes, so we better start the Colts chat.
No.
I got some things I want to say about the Colts. I thought we were going to have a guest tonight, so I thought, I wrote down notes. I wanted to converse, but I guess I'll talk to you two idiots instead. I'm only saying this because I want to put it on a graphic. I actually do kind of believe it. I think the Colts are sleeping giants, but that's going to be a graphic on Twitter. As far as the offense, they were all right last year.
Maybe
Everybody
a sleeping
knows
pile of shit.
Anthony Richardson, the health concerns. But 11th in points per game last year. Drafted Adonai Mitchell, who seems extremely motivated so far. I kind of wanted to ask our guest how we'd fit alongside guys, not named Michael Pittman, maybe the guys like Josh Downs, Alec Pierce. But that's all I had for their offense. Their defense was terrible. Their front seven looks great. I was even going to ask the guy about Samson Ebukam. He had 9.5 sacks last year. Nobody knows who that is, not even me until yesterday. But
he's number 50 for the Rams. He was number 50 for the Rams.
You think I fucking know number 50 for the Rams, Gary?
We had a conversation last offseason about how no one knows any of the Rams players.
That's true. I
have a lot to say about the Colts. If any Colts fans want to talk to me, I'm at Beerly Trev Scott on Twitter. I have all these notes I'd love to talk to somebody about. All these off-season episodes, we have 4 teams to talk about and prepare for. I usually only do about 2 of them and just hope the other 2 go well. I did the Colts and Titans, so I was so ready to talk about Colts. So if anyone ever wants to talk Colts with me, I'm down to do it. But I'm done talking about football tonight. Let's talk about something else.
They get a great line. Top 5, if not top 3 best offensive line in football. That's only
helps when your quarterback's bad.
Yeah, is Anthony Richardson actually gonna finish more than 2 games this season?
Kerry, let's make a bet because you wanted to make a bet about this.
We did make a bet, and you
wouldn't
take it. We made a bet on Richardson.
Because you wouldn't define it.
No, I said if he finished a certain amount of games, and then you were babying out about it.
No, you said if he plays a certain amount of games.
No, I said finished.
No, you didn't. I'll pull it up and I'll put a fucking.
No, he said. I remember him saying finished because the whole deal is last year.
No,
he played he started in 4 or 5 games. He didn't finish a single fucking game last year.
No, Kerry said if he plays in 13 games. And I said, okay, if he plays 1 snap and then gets hurt, he still played in that game.
Yeah.
So let's okay, so what do you want to do, Kerry?
Looking for the message. Zach, talk about the Colts while I find this.
Yeah,
All right,
I
the
know I'm
Colts-
right. Nobody's listening, but I know I'm right.
The Colts are fine. They have a great offensive line, which is obviously going to help out any offense.
Extremely talented on the defense in the front seven. They just need their secondary to be better. They drafted a pass rusher, which, like I said earlier, helps out the secondary. They drafted 3 or 4 defensive backs in the later rounds. So if
Sadly,
one of those sticks out,
sadly, this is probably one of the weakest pass rushing groups coming out of the draft in 5 to 10 years.
they're
I could think of.
fine.
They're not terrible, but I don't see any game breakers in this draft coming out. Who'd they get? Like Leati Latu or something like that?
Yeah, he was him and who was the other pass rusher? He was the best one in the draft. Wasn't he the first defensive player taken?
He was the first defensive player taken.
They got Kwity Paye, who's been solid. They got DeForest Buckner. Everybody knows who that
Their
is.
front seven is fine.
Yeah.
That has never been their issue.
Yeah.
So with every single cornerback available on the board, and your issue being secondary, why go pass rusher?
There was no good. I mean, they needed help. They needed youth in their pass rushing, but there was no good corners available that early.
What are you
that
talking
was the
about?
first defensive player on the board.
Every corner on the board was available.
But you don't take him at 14 or 15.
Then trade back.
The next corner went like 2 picks later.
Yeah.
Well, Leitu's going to start right away. Leitu was the best defensive player in the draft.
Maybe look at Xavier Howard.
And they have Kenny Moore, who was he was second team
Xavier
All-Pro
Howard's
or third
washed.
team All-Pro.
Kenny Moore
He was an All-Pro.
last year?
Yeah.
Was he really?
These other guys aren't worth a shit. Juju Banks, Jalen Jones, but I mean, every team's got a
Never
weakness.
heard of
I mean,
either.
this isn't a 12, 13, 14 win team by any means, but
My problem is, you know what your issue is. Address it. Their issue
did.
was not
It's not
their
the
front
first round.
seven. Their issue was not their front seven. Their issue was not creating pressure on the quarterback. Their issue was their guys can't guard anybody in the secondary. Their issue was Anthony Richardson can't stay healthy for a full game. And guess what? In OTAs, he's throwing left-handed. Doesn't exactly inspire confidence. I don't see the Colts doing well this year. Who's their backup quarterback?
Joe Flacco.
Actually?
Yeah. The season is saved, Zach.
No. Okay, no. They are fucked. Because guess what? Their defense is probably half as good as Cleveland's defense was last year.
We're going to get Joe Flacco through
No,
up to
I'm
450,
sorry.
4
They
touchdowns,
are
5
fucked.
picks
If your
again.
backup is Joe Flacco, they are fucked. Because guess what? Anthony Richardson is at most playing 13 to 14 games. He is not going undefeated in that stretch. And so, at best, they come through Anthony Richardson's stretch at maybe 8-9 wins. Without a defense, Joe Flacco is not good.
Anthony Richardson is the biggest wild card in the NFL right now. He's either going to be injured or terrible, or he's going to be like Josh Allen 2.0. Nobody knows.
He's throwing left-handed in OTAs.
He's just
You know
going to
how
run.
concerning that should be for Colts fans? That's so bad.
I'm not an Anthony Richardson fan. This man is never going to play a full season.
oh my God, Kerry, it's been 1 year, bro.
And he played in
You know how many rookies
finished
get
one
hurt?
game.
Like
He got hurt like 6 times in 4 games. That's not even possible. The funniest part is that Trevor used to hate on him so much back when he was at UF, and then he suddenly
And then as soon as he entered the draft, he's like,
he's like, I love
you
it.
better take
That's
Anthony
because
Richardson
I
in the
like
top
Anthony
4.
Richardson, but I hated that Florida team and their coaching. That was
No,
not
you didn't like Anthony Richardson.
No, Anthony Richardson.
I
won a
remember
Heisman, Dan Mullen was so good.
you sending me a video of him missing a wide open screen pass, throwing it directly over the running back's head, and being like, "This guy fucking sucks. We are so cooked."
I'm sure that happened.
And then And then now you're like, I never hated Anthony Richardson.
No, he wasn't in a place to succeed. If Dan Mullen was there, he would have won the Heisman.
That's not true.
We got fucking.
I've met Dan Mullen. You guys would not have won a Heisman.
Yeah, let's put him on an SEC team. He'll do great. And
I'm calling it
been a joke for the last 3
Miami over Florida this year.
Let's go!
No,
we got 3 Miami fans. Dude.
Cam Ward is going to be so much better than Graham Mertz.
Dude, let's go! Dude, that is going to be so hype. Shout out to the bachelor party. We should do at least 1 stream while we're there, and probably 4 or 5 videos.
Yeah, let's do a lot. I mean, Zach, I was thinking we get there Friday, just settle in, everything's good. Maybe Friday night or Saturday daytime. No, Friday night is the Olympics. We rest, recover. Saturday, 6 o'clock, we got the Gators Miami game. And then Sunday, play some golf, watch some preseason football.
If any listeners want to show up, we'll charge you $50 an hour, but you come watch us for your entertainment for that weekend.
I'll pay you $50 an hour.
They also must massage Zach at least 4 times.
I don't want them to massage me. I'm good. I'm
and carry him on a chair around everywhere.
Here it is, boys. Actually, I just want to show the slander ends tonight. The slander.
It will never end, Zach, so there you die.
No, the slander ends tonight.
Trevor, if Zach dies first on his headstone, we got to put this man through a bunch of heroes.
Yeah.
The slander ends 6, and not even. I'm really not even.
Betting on the Beer Olympics is one thing.
It's been a really disappointing episode. I'm not even buzzed.
Wow.
Betting on the Beer Olympics is one thing. The winner of the Olympics would be fun. But an equally interesting bet, if not more interesting, is who will be the first one to throw up.
Jared.
Jared. Absolutely.
Easy.
I will bet everything I own on Jared being the first.
You think
Definitely.
so?
Shout out to Jared, by the way.
All right, we want to give our final standings and records predictions and wrap it up.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Who's going first?
Well, Zach, I think you went first a little bit. I think you had Jags, Texans, Colts, Titans, but you didn't give wins for them. Is that right?
So, that's fair. I have the Jags winning the division at 11-6. The Texans coming in second at 10-7. I have the Colts at 9-8. And I have the Titans 6-11.
There you go. All right, Kerry, what do you got?
I woke up ready to piss people off. I got the Texans taking the division at 11-6. I got the Tennessee Titans second.
That is so gross. What? That is the most disgusting behavior I've ever heard. Oh my God!
I got the
Titans.
I got the Titans.
Bottom of the barrel.
I got the Titans.
Scum beneath my toes.
Exactly.
What?
Second at 9-8 in the division.
That is. Oh man, I'm gonna throw up.
Third place. I got the Indianapolis Colts at 7-2.
We're gonna fight. We're gonna have words and fists.
And wrapping it up, fourth place at 6-11.
Okay, wait, make a bet right now. 6.5 wins for the Jags. I'll take the over for any amount of money. Any amount of money. Any amount of money. 6.5 wins.
What'd you say?
How many wins for the Colts?
7.
7. Okay.
Any amount of money, Kerry.
I'll do $10.
6.5 win for the Jags.
I'll do $10 on it, Zach.
$10. Make it 50. Make it 1,000.
No.
Make it 1,000.
Yeah, no.
All right, $10.
I'll do $10 on it.
6.5 wins. Easiest money I've ever made in my life.
Write it down.
Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Zach, you know what division you guys are playing this year?
What do you mean? We're playing the AFC South.
You're matched up with?
Last year was the AFC North.
What's usually North?
I know we're doing the NFC West this year, I think. Let me just double check.
Is it usually like you play the West and the West? Like if you play
It's
the
different every year.
No, but it's like if you play the NFC West, you also play the AFC West, or no?
We're playing the AFC East and looks like the NFC. No, that's preseason. Playing the AFC East and the NFC North.
Pat Zach.
Okay. So that's a little more difficult. I haven't given a team a lot of wins yet. I'll give the Houston Texans first place and 11 wins. I will give the Colts and the Jaguars 9 wins. And I will give the Tennessee Titans 7 wins. So 11, 9, 9, and 7.
Okay. That is the most ridiculous thing ever. Jaguars 6.5 wins. Holy cow.
Yeah.
When have I ever
Thank
been
you for
wrong?
free money, Gary. I appreciate it.
Just donating to the wedding, right? When have I ever
It's
been
going to
wrong?
be the Mac Jones payback.
Last year preseason, you were almost constantly wrong. You were almost as wrong as much as Trevor was.
Maybe this is my year.
No,
Zach.
last year, what was my best year? 2 years ago, the Herbert year. That was my prime, man.
It's
But
cheap.
this I'm going back in.
Last year, you picked 0 division winners.
Yeah, that was an obvious troll attempt by myself.
And then you had the Cowboys, the Dolphins, all his boys.
Yeah, the Dolphins and Cowboys Super Bowl, which didn't exactly work out.
That wasn't my fault.
All right. Well, I got one more thing. I said this, I think it was the last podcast. But if you like us and want to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we'll read it. We just got a new review from last week from Ultimate Lions. Give it a shot. 5 stars. I enjoyed the banter between the group as well as the guests they have. Thank you for that review and not one of our 1-star garbage reviews. But if you
actually, if you want to give a 1-star review, like you're like, I hate these guys.
Yeah, do it.
I want to give them a 1-star review. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to drive to Gainesville, Georgia, where I will talk to you personally, and you can tell me how much you hate the show. And then leave a 1-star review on any Barstool podcast.
Yeah.
All right.
But give us a nice review. We'll read it out loud on the podcast.
Absolutely. But you know what's even better than reading a review?
Reading
You know
the
what's
Bible.
even better than leaving a review? Buying some merch.
Fuck. That looks like a Kyle Shanahan hat right
It
there.
really does, honestly.
A Kyle Shanahan hat. So that's for Beerly OB. But look at this little guy with the football.
It's pretty cute, man.
Check
That's
out
one of
this
your-
hoodie right here.
that's one
So
of your
this is the
biggest
Beerly
selling
Boy
stuff.
football hoodie. Comes in many colors. We also have mugs. We have all kinds of stuff with this logo on it. If you want to check it out, we got short sleeves, long sleeves, full print T-shirts where the logo is a little bit bigger. Really cool design. That was a lot of fun to make. So if you guys want to check that out, make sure you check out beerlysports.creatorspring.com. Or if you search Beerly Sports Teespring on the Google machine, as one of our previous guests said, you can find it pretty easily there. Anything else we want to plug before we head off tonight?
Follow us on Twitter if you haven't already. At Beerly Football.
Follow us on Pitter. Yeah.
And YouTube at Beerly Sports.
Yeah, at Beerly Sports on YouTube. Follow us at Beerly Sports on Twitter, at Beerly Football on Twitter. You can follow me at Beerly Zach on Twitter, where I will try to be more active. I've taken some time off because let's just say I got a Fiesta. You know what I mean? I actually bought a Fiesta yesterday, a Ford Fiesta 2019.
Oh, yeah.
What a party.
You can follow Trevor at Beerly Trev Scott, Carrie at Beerly Carrie, and you can watch all of our sports takes. If you follow Trevor, just his takes on life. Just his takes on life in general.
You know how we do rapid fire? We should do
Yeah.
like rapid fire of like my tweets.
No,
Trevor, what are your opinions on the hot Tua girl?
I said she was mid. Also, Ice Spice. I had a tweet about her in the last few hours.
I saw that.
I had tweets back to back about the police force. I had
No, I'm
tweets
gonna-
about
I'm gonna
Chipotle.
read. I'm gonna read 5 tweets from Trev Scott to wrap this up. All right, 6 hours ago at Billy Trev Scott, I'm moaning in the restaurant. Chipotle is so good.
There you go.
1 day ago, never simped over Ice Spice once, and they tried to force me plenty of times.
I saw that tweet earlier. Yeah.
I would be a great therapist 2 days ago.
That's not true at all. You're the worst.
I feel like I would be a good therapist.
No. You know why I know you would be a good therapist? Because you would talk. You would tell
Yeah.
everybody. You're not
Tell me
a
what
good
they want to hear.
therapist.
People that need
Doctor-patient confidentiality is a thing, and it's important.
Only
All right.
if people tell. It's just like selling drugs, bro. It's the same.
All right,
thing.
your last 3. Free country motherfucker. They got undercover police in Toyota Camrys. What does that mean?
That's just bullshit.
You tweeted at 6:25 p.m. Yoshi to Sotgo highlights, and the last one I'll read off at 5:22 p.m. on June 29th. You said, "Can anybody meet me in St. Pete with a cigarette?"
Trevor, don't smoke cigarettes.
The words of
Be a
I've never
man.
even
and-
smoked a
and-
cigarette. I just wanted one.
What? Trust me, if you've never smoked one before, you don't want one.
Dude, I had a Zyn, a 6 milligram Zyn one time, and I had to lay in my bed for 3 hours and almost try not to throw up.
not surprised.
A 6 milligrams in? Dude. You got to do better than that, brother.
I
I'm just
have
gonna
one
be
more question for you guys, both of you, Carrie. So get your ass back in here.
Get your ass back over here.
You actually
Hurry up.
skipped my favorite tweet from the last 6 days, which was, if I had a genie grant me 3 wishes, I would one wish that Chipotle costed $6.96 like it did when I was in college, and then I would ask for $6.96 twice. What would you guys' 3 wishes be if you had a genie?
Well, I would wish for prosperity, both emotionally and financially, for me and my family. My second wish would be a Jaguars Super Bowl,
Nice.
and my third wish would be a Miami Hurricanes national championship.
God, I would kill. Never mind. Dude, that
I would be. By the way,
hate that.
if I had all 3, it'd be like the Infinity Stones. If I had a Miami Hurricanes national championship, a Jacksonville Jaguars Super Bowl, and money, I'd be the biggest asshole to you guys you've ever met.
Wow.
But because my teams are terrible and consistently disappoint me, I'm the nicest person on the planet. Go ahead, Gary.
I wish I could do purely football as my job. So if anybody wants
Dude.
to sponsor us,
Actually, I love that, Carrie. You know what? I want to change one of mine. I would
Change
give
the
up a
Hurricanes
Jacksonville
one, please.
Jaguars Super Bowl for Beerly football to be my job.
No, please change the Hurricanes one. Though.
Nope, it's the Jags. Sorry.
all right. My other wish is I wish I was asleep right now. So
Why are you so tired, brother?
He's got to run 3.1 miles in the morning.
Dude, by the way, first off, do you know what time I woke up this morning, Carrie?
when
5:30.
I have to wake up at 5 tomorrow.
Well, get over it.
I don't want to.
Alrighty. Thank you, everyone, for watching and participating in this episode. I have beat the allegations, 6 straight Smirnoff Ices in a single episode.
Technically, you did 12 in college.
Was
so.
it 12? Damn, that's going to be tough in a one
Oh,
episode.
you did. Yeah. That was like a
was
whole
12.
box.
Damn, 12? That's a lot of volume.
That was the problem, the sugar.
It's a lot of
The
thin,
sugar
bro.
and the sheer amount of fizzy beverage in my stomach. Yeah,
Mixed
that might
with
not
whatever
be
we
a
were eating
possibility.
back in college,
But,
which was
I can do Seagrams next time. I can do a 6-pack. It's just hard to finish that much in a short amount of time. Anyway, Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next time on the Beerly Football Podcast. 2 weeks out. Make sure you check out the merch store. Make sure you follow us all on Twitter. And make sure you follow the Beerly Football Podcast on Twitter. At Beerly Football, at Beerly Sports. Also gives you those updates. And we'll see you next time.
Buzz brushing his teeth on the podcast.
I am.
Dental hygiene